game's the game, yeah?
That's a step over.
A fight's a fight. No, don't worry about it, it's a step over. It's done. What I'm saying now is, all bets are off.
Conor has that, and Tony has the task of having to do that with Conor. He has to make sure that he uses that fire and that aggression and that real will to win in the right pattern.
I'm going for a lot for Conor Benn with the spitefulness and the hatred that he has. And I know when you really dislike someone, it brings something out of you. But you know, I'm looking forward to that fight.
It's a mismatch. It's an entertaining matchup.
Why is it a mismatch?
Because of ability, because of weight classes.
The winner of the bout between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn has been predicted by boxing experts. Conor is predicted by Eddie Hearn. When the bell sounds in April, Benn will be a caged animal. Although he is aware of Benn's size disadvantage, he thinks his aggression, quickness and hunger will compensate. Hearn believes that one of the main reasons the fight is so fierce and explosive is Benn's constant pressure.
Can't wait. I mean, look, Eubank's playing a blinder for the promotion of the fight. I mean, a little bit annoying. I mean, unfortunately, if I could fight, I'd want to give him a slap myself, but that's not going to happen. So, Conor's fired up. I mean, honestly, I've never seen someone put themselves through what he is putting himself through in training camp. He's going to be like a caged animal when that bell goes on April 26th. A big disadvantage in size, but he makes up for it in attribute, hunger, youth, tenacity, volatility, and he is in camp with his dad, grafting and dreaming every day of violating Chris Eubank Jr. on April 26th and doing it in spectacular fashion. And I can't wait.
Because the two boxers are in very different weight classes, many boxing pros consider the bout to be a mismatch. Benn's move up 2 weight categories to take against Eubank Jr., who has spent the most of his career competing at a higher weight class, is the main source of worry. This jump raises questions about Benn's ability to manage the physical demands and strength at the super middleweight level. It is widely believed that Eubank Jr.'s size and weight advantages may tip the scales in his favor and frequently play a significant factor in deciding the outcome of a fight.
It's a mismatch. It's an entertaining matchup.
Why is it a mismatch?
Because of ability, because of weight classes. Chris Jr. is a middleweight and a super middleweight. He's naturally a super middleweight. So, he's having to starve himself to come down and, with all the catch weights and all of this stuff, it's a mismatch. He is operated at world level. He's been in with the likes of George Groves and, the list goes on. It's a mismatch in ability and
Respected boxing commentator Spencer Finn emphasizes the long-standing relationship between the Benn and Eubank families. This generational continuation has captured the public's imagination, making it a highly talked-about fight. He says, adding that the rivalry, which started with their father's great bouts, adds a fascinating storyline to the upcoming fight fear. In addition to adding interest, the historical background puts more pressure on both combatants to preserve their family's traditions.
And the hatred that he has. And I know when you really dislike someone, it brings something out of you. But, I'm looking forward to that fight. For the simple fact is, like, that event within itself is fantastic because it's crossed over. Lots of people are talking about it. Everywhere you go, people are talking about it. There is nothing wrong with that. That's absolutely excellent. And plus, I can remember when the two fathers first fought, and the second time is when they fought in October of of '93. But when the fathers first fought, when they first went at it, I remember that fight clearly in my head. It was a Sunday night. It was at November 18th, 1990, and it was like, it seemed like the world stopped to watch that fight. And this has drawn something from it because everybody's talking about it. And fair play to both men. They're selling the fight really well, which is genuine. It's not orchestrated. Oh, you're gonna do this. No, it's proper. So I'm looking forward to that fight. May the better man win.
Yeah, for sure.
In addition to adding interest, historical background puts more pressure on both combatants to preserve their family's traditions. Regarding the Eubank rivalry, Conor Benn has publicly acknowledged the significance of his father Nigel. Benn's legacy. He brought attention to the matchup's emotional and personal aspects by jokingly asking why his father abandoned him to handle the protracted conflict. This open admission highlights the particular difficulties Benn has juggling. His personal background with his career goals.
You're right that I do justice for the second fight. It was a draw that he should have won. Ultimately, I'm just, Dad, why have you left your dirty laundry to me, mate? Why have I got to close the show for you? Why have I got to handle your dirty business? I've got to do this for my dad, because he couldn't do it himself.
Brave man, Conor.
Former middleweight champion Darren Barker highlights how important the jab is in this fight. He claims that Conor Benn has a better jab, which may be the difference between the two fighters. Barker notes that Eubank Jr.'s anti-seizure rhythm and plan may be upset by Benn's innate aggressiveness and a good jab. This technical understanding implies that Benn's skill set might provide Eubank Jr. with serious difficulties, despite the size disadvantage.
So yes, attacks to the body going to be paramount. I think the jab crucial. I think out of the two, Conor has the better jab. At times, Eubank Jr.'s jab's been non-existent. We see him starting to use his jab a little bit more under his short time with Roy Jones, but it's a shot that he neglects. So yeah, I think variation, certainly from Conor Benn, is going to be much needed on April 26th.
Obviously, we've seen quite a fiery build-up between the pair. Do you feel like Junior's trying to play up to that, trying to get beneath the skin of Conor Benn and hoping that he just disrupts him and his mentality going through his camp and ultimately leading up to fight night?
Yeah, I think so. That's maturity and experience. That's how. But Conor's naturally fiery. Conor has that bit between his teeth. He's his dad's son. His dad was as fiery as they come, and so was Conor. I think if Chris Eubank Jr. was placid and respectful, I think Conor would still be fiery. But yeah, he's. I would have thought he's won quite a lot of people over Chris Eubank Jr. Although him and his dad have always been Marmite, you either love him or you hate him. I think where he's been so outspoken and he said things a lot of people probably wouldn't have. People have sort of warmed to him, but there's always a goodie and a villain in a lot of these grudge matches. But this one seems to have really a split opinion. They both.
Chris Eubank Jr. has worked closely with renowned trainer Roy Jones Jr., who attests to his notable progress. Jones stresses that Benn may face significant challenges as a result of Eubank Jr.'s improved abilities, as well as his inherent stature and strength. He says Eubank Jr. may control the bout with his physical advantages and skillful skills if Benn's punches don't have a significant effect.
See that one going?
Very tough fight for Conor. Not saying he can't win it because one big left hook could change anything. But to me, his best chances are to try to land a big shot. If that don't happen, or if he lands it and it don't hurt Chris, then it's going to be really, pretty rough for him because Chris is definitely an improved fighter. You understand me? And even the stuff he's doing now, he's going to continue to get better. But I think when he came down there with me for that year, it improved his foundation. You understand me? So it made him a better fighter. So he's going to be hard to beat for anybody, especially a guy that's smaller than him. But we saw Liam Smith pull out the upset that one time. So I know that gave Ben much more hope that he could probably do the same. So it's going to be a great fight. Both fighters are great fighters. I love both of them. I think Chris is a little bigger and has the advantages because he's bigger. But it's going to be a great fight.
You know what? A lot of people are talking about it, Roy. You know about cutting weight and whatnot. A lot of people are talking about Chris Eubank Jr. now being at 160 and maybe being tight at that weight now. But the rehydration clause, £10, I'm saying, listen, with a £10 rehydration clause in it, that won't affect him at all.
That won't affect him at all, but...
Froch a former super middleweight champion, has been ambivalent about the bout. He notes that the thrill of the match is diminished by Benn's relatively unknown record.
The Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn fight does absolutely nothing for me.
Really?
Yeah, Chris Eubank Jr. lost to George Groves, he lost to Billy Joe Saunders, he doesn't box, he boxes once a year. He looked terrible in his last fight. He was slow with his jab, he was leaving his chin in the air, his balance looks like it's gone. He's 36 years old, talking about fighting Canelo Alvarez and taking on all these top. He was talking about Triple G for a while, who's now gone 40 and retired. Conor Benn, what's Conor Benn done?
Not a lot, to be fair.
He beat Chris Algieri and failed. You know, he's failed that drugs test. We're not seeing him do anything. He's fought nobody. He's not developed. He's not developed. He's done nothing. So for Conor Benn to jump in there with Chris Eubank Jr., the only reason that fight would be close is because they're probably going to drain Eubank down to 160, a middleweight. And then, but Conor Benn's having to come up from 147. So
the gap there.
It's not an exciting fight. He don't prove anything.
Won't get the better of Eubank.
I think Conor Benn beats Eubank, but I kind of need Eubank to win. Do you know what I mean? For myself, from a selfish perspective, I need him to win.
Did you want to fight him?
Yeah, exactly.
Would it be the first defence if you win that, or when you win that WBC title? Is that someone that you would choose?
100%, 100%. As long as obviously everyone's okay with it, it'd be that. I mean, why not? It'd be the biggest fight for me next in boxing, and I haven't got long left in the 160-pound division, so it's not me going on about taking certain defences. It's all about just fighting the big fight.
Sure. And it lines up.